If you were listening to Cross Politic on Wednesday, the show went something like this. Pastor Toby, you weren't here.
No.
But today's show is going to go something like this.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are going to love it.
We'll talk about that in just a second. But first,
folks, our upcoming, I said folks, I hate it when I say that. Our upcoming Fight Laugh Feast conference is less than 2 months away and happening in Knoxville, Tennessee, October 6th through the 8th. Lies, propaganda, storytelling, and the serrated edge. Don't miss Beer and Psalms, our amazing lineup of speakers, including George Gilder, Jared Longshore, Pastor Doug Wilson, Dr. Ben Merkel. I'll be speaking.
Yeah.
Chuck Knox is going to be doing a roundtable discussion with Mrs. Becca Merkel, Mrs. Nancy Wilson, on the power of stories shaping culture. And we got a live show.
Oh, that's
with
right.
Megan Basham.
Yes.
She'd be bashing him. and Jason Whitlock.
That's right. We're going to talk about
we're talking about the need for Christians in media.
in journalism. The lost art of journalism.
Amen. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. Also, we just announced a Business Makers pre-conference with Andrew Crappyshutz from Red Balloon and David Reese, CEO of Armored Republic, growing businesses in a woke culture. Also, don't miss our awesome vendors, meeting new friends, and stuff for the kids, too, like jumpy castles. And yes, infant baptisms. Lots and lots and lots of I'm kidding. Also, did you know you can save money by signing up for a club membership? Go to fightlaughfeast.com, sign up for a club membership, get $100 off the conference registration with your club discount. We can't wait to fellowship with you, sing psalms, and celebrate God's goodness in Knoxville, October 6th through the 8th.
So Wednesday, we had a very interesting show.
Yeah, what happened?
And Gabe, I'm sure, is happy that he's not here today to take part.
Where is Gabe?
Gabe is actually on vacation, getting the last little bits of summer in with his family.
Man, the nerve to miss the show.
And then, Jason Farley, who is kind of like at the center of this, along with Jared Longshore.
Where's Jason?
Jason is actually trying to sell a script. He's actually a comedy writer. Yeah. And so that he can pay for things with his family. And so he couldn't be here today. But I will
Jared?
say this.
Where's Jared?
Jared, I have no idea. I don't even know.
So here I am, and here you are.
You weren't here, but you're here now, and here I am. So,
and Bill's here,
Bill Garraway.
Yeah. He'll answer all our questions.
So on Wednesday, we talked about slavery, abortion, and transgenderism, right?
Yeah. I saw that.
Okay. And one of the things that I was noticing that was happening inside of the transgender movement was this issue of identity, right? And I was noticing that, like Jeff Schaefer was talking about, we've divorced identity from motherhood to marriage to children, so that now since parents don't matter anymore in the context, because we've avoided their ability to have a relationship to their kids because of the fact that marriage produces children. That now the seculars have come in and decided to help your children find their own identity.
Right.
Right. So they are saying, since the relationship between mother and child, father and child is now obliterated and destroyed, who's the one who's actually has authority over the parents? Well, the seculars do. Yeah, right. And one of the things that I wanted to discuss, and I have been discussing with Jason, we've probably got like 65 hours of content.
65 hours?
That's probably right. Yeah.
Wait, where do you listen to this?
This is Knox Unplugged on the app.
Knox Unplugged on the app. 65 hours?
Yeah, the average show is somewhere between 2 and 2.5 hours, and we got about 35 of them.
So gracious! You want to listen to this? 65 hours.
We've been working through this concept, and there's a lot of things that I've learned in this process. Yeah. Some of the things I've learned is that I'm more Gnostic than I know. Yeah. And I'm far more. The enlightenment is far more in me than it should be.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell you. You
know what? You really have.
Jason, thank you. Appreciate it. Checks in the mail.
You really have. And so one of the things that because of that and knowing that, I wanted Jason to come on and say, do you think that the American Evangelical Church has a way to deal with the transgender movement? And so we talked about that. Everybody who knows that, listen to the show, they know that it went bonkers, right? Because Jason basically said, the individualistic idea and concept that he said, no, we don't, because we're too individualistic, right? And he said the individual individualistic concept and idea that we have in our covenant theology, particular in American Baptist theology, has led to this individualistic idea inside the secular culture, which is now you can choose your identity. Right? So in the same way that we don't put the identity on our children, in the same way they get to choose their identity out in when they can decide to become a Christian. Also, the secularist idea is just reflecting that from the church going downstream, that now you can choose your identity as a boy or a girl,
male,
female,
or something else. Zebra.
And so that made a lot of people upset. Mainly
did y'all read Carl Trueman's book?
I'm going to get there.
Did you read? What's it called? Everybody's like sharing Carl. They're like, yes, this is the like next to the Bible.
Right.
Carl Trueman. Give it to all your children,
the
all
rise
your
of the human self or something like that.
Yeah. But rise and triumph
of the
self, right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know.
So if they look up Carl Trueman, they'll find it. But it's in the book.
And he's got like a new popular version that just came out too that everybody's like raving about.
Right. There's a small, easier version to read. But before we actually delve into this any further, I wanted to try and put a context to this. A little bit of a context about who we are and the relationship we have with Baptists. Because a lot of Baptist brothers are acting like, oh, you guys hate us. This is horrible. How could you have any relationship with us? And I just want to stop for a second and say, hold on a second.
Our tagline is winsome Presbyterians. Didn't you get that? Winsome, nice, flattering.
Not the tagline I was thinking of, but I want to say, like, I love my Baptist brothers more than they love me, and I have evidence of that. I have evidence. I'm a part of a denomination, the CREC, that believes that Baptists and Presbyterians should not separate because of the issue of baptism. I mean, and not just Baptist Presbyterian, we have charismatics. I don't know of a more ecumenical.
They might not like that.
Who's that?
I know the Baptists.
That's true.
They're like, you're friends with charismatics.
How dare you? Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
But we have all different groups and walks inside the CREC and allows for that inside the CREC so that we don't separate over these issues. There isn't every Sunday I am in communion. Unlike a lot of Baptist churches, I'm in communion and fellowship and membership with Baptists inside of my Presbyterian church, and we're breaking bread at the table. And so it's not like, I was telling the guys earlier, I haven't seen this kind of trouble. I haven't been in this kind of trouble in a long time. The last time I got in this kind of trouble with Baptists, I said Baptists are the Presbyterians what Jim Crow laws are to black people. We're not saying you can't have water. You just can't have it from this fountain. And
I thought we were trying to make it better.
Right. And my point in saying that, though, just before all my Baptists were like, oh my goodness, he's making it worse. My point in saying that was that the way that Baptists view Presbyterians when it comes to being in relationship with them at the table and in communion with them in membership at the church is that they don't say that we're not. So
like, we are friends.
Yeah, we're friends, but you can't be a member at this church. You can't have communion with us.
Is that really how it is?
Yeah, in some places it really is. If you haven't, like, if my children grow up and go to a Baptist church, they have to be rebaptized. Like, they can't. Their baptism doesn't.
They can't be a member.
I've been to some Baptist churches, and my son wasn't looked at as being. My son's like 10 years old. He wasn't looked at as being a Christian, and so
because he wasn't immersed.
And so he's not a part of. He's not able to take communion, and I didn't want to leave my son outside, so I didn't take communion either. And so, and it hurt me because I'm like,
I thought we were brothers.
We can have different agreements, disagreements on this situation. We can, man, my charismatic brothers, we've given them some serious accusations about where the theology leads. I mean, we've roasted our Arminian friends over there. We just, and yet those are still my brothers because the only thing that separates us is justified or not.
No, that's And if we're justified, you're in Christ.
And you can come to the table.
We're on the same team. We're on the same family.
You got to sign the covenant. You come to the table. This is where we are. So I want to make sure that the conversation is being had, understanding that about us.
And it's a little, it's different. In a second, we're going to look at a couple tweets, right? From people with all our fans. You're coming up. But like it really is different to say. I mean. If somebody says we think this kind of theology causes this kind of aberration, this kind of problem, that is a different qualitative kind of thing than saying you cannot eat at this table.
Sure.
I mean, just compare those two things. Like, we think your theology downstream causes this kind of problems.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
But to say, I'm sorry, we can't eat at the same table.
Yeah.
That's actually a more extreme thing.
And here's what's crazy about that, Pastor. The ones who feel like that we can't eat the same table are still my brothers.
Right.
Those are the ones
for
I
me,
love to death.
For you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're our brothers.
And even though they don't see the same way that we see about this, I think they still believe that we're brothers too.
Right.
And so in this process, James White hit me up. I love you, James. Please don't hurt me. He will. He'll hurt me. It always hurts. I love him. And he hit me up. And, I remember when I made the comment about the Baptists are the Presbyterians. Even Jeff Durbin, he was hurt. He was like, man, how could you say that about about us? Right. And I wanted to say, like, there are Baptist brothers who I don't fit inside of the same American Baptist theological foundation system. Right. And there's Presbyterians that I don't fit inside our Reformed.
Piles of Presbyterians.
How do you think we got Baptists?
Right. Because a bunch of Presbyterians were
messing up stuff,
being terrible.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a reason why we have to explain when we tell people we're Presbyterians. We frequently add the kind that believe the Bible.
Right.
like we actually have to say that. There's the kind without rainbow flags on the front of the churches. That's the kind of Presbyterian we are.
When I think about James White and I think about Jeff Durbin and those kind of guys, I was listening to the debate that James White had with Doug Wilson on Paedo Communion.
Yeah.
And I got there and listened to it, and I was like,
Right.
Because I was like James to me and the people who are like him, James is talking about, well, I'm willing to baptize 4 years old. And I'm like, well, we got a 3-year gap, man. What's there? There's nothing really theologically. He's post-mill. He's theonomic. Right. There's nothing really. I would feel right at home.
Well, isn't that what he put on the first tweet? Throw that first tweet up there. Don't get me wrong. Hey, James White, Mr. Whitebeard. Don't get me wrong. Chocolate Knox. Toby and Gabe, thanks. We love you too. Just really disappointing that our brothers still don't get the difference between non-confessional Baptist theology and covenantal Baptist theology. Don't blame us for radical individualism. And the short answer is, we do get the difference.
I do.
And we don't blame you for radical individualism.
No.
All right, next. That's it. That's really it. No. But stop and think for a second. Like, does Presbyterianism, can it grow a certain kind of mold?
Absolutely. You know what?
Yes, it does.
Pastor Toby.
Will it grow a certain kind of tumors? Yes, it can. Does it grow a certain kind of cancer? Yes, it does. I'm a Presbyterian. I just hit myself.
Yeah. And I've said,
have we caused a whole host of problems in America? Yes, we have.
I think the cosmological breakdown and the Enlightenment influence of Presbyterian theology is why we end up getting so much with slavery. This is why we couldn't beat it. I think we messed up. Our understanding of humanity, understanding of the world, we had in common law. It was impossible for the West to embrace a slave because of the fact when he touched Western society, he was a free man. That was in common law. But then because of our cosmology and because of the influence of the Enlightenment, we started changing our position on that and then subverted the law. We did that.
Yeah. We're a bunch of Presbyterians, white supremacists in the South. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we say things the other day.
No, there's really no difference than that in saying, does Baptist theology, can it grow mold?
Yeah.
Can it grow cancer? Can it grow tumors? Can it become a corruption? Who's going to say no?
Yeah.
Who's going to say no? And if Jason Farley says, hey, one of the tumors that Baptist theology can grow is a radical individualism. I mean, he's not even denying it. James White's not even denying it. He's saying it, non-confessional Baptist theology. I'm assuming he would assume that kind of Baptist theology is particularly prone to grow this kind of mold, to grow this kind of cancer. And does that lead to a radical individualism that leads to a radical, I'm going to find myself, I'm my own determiner of my own destiny? And does that turn into transgenderism? Yeah.
Mm. All right, next tweet. Okay, yeah.
Love you, James.
Now, Jeff Wright, I like Jeff.
I don't know him, but
Jeff's a good dude. Yeah. I love this dude.
Credo Baptists are the reason for the transgender crisis. Not cool or particularly thoughtful. Also, why shoot the guys fighting beside you? Hey, here, stop for a second. Actually, this is great. The Spirit's moving. We're having a charismatic moment.
Do I need to get the organ ready?
Yeah, you do. No, this is why we are having the Fight, Laugh, Feast conference this year on the serrated edge. Not even kidding. This is why we're having the conference on the serrated edge, okay? Jesus uses generalizations and sharp rhetoric and does it explicitly. Like, he insults Pharisees. You whitewashed tombs. And then a bunch of the Pharisees say, you insulted all of us. And Jesus says, look, if the shoe fits, wear it. No, we didn't shoot at you, Jeff, unless the shoe fits. No, I'm not saying it. I'm assuming it doesn't.
No, not with Jeff. It doesn't fit.
Not at all. But Jesus takes he just shoots them all.
Yeah.
Pharisees.
Yeah.
Lawyers. And one time he shoots them, and then a lawyer says, hey, I think you hit me on accident. And Jesus says, no, you lawyers too. You scribes.
Yeah.
You serpents, you whitewashed. And like, guys, if we're going to be all about the Bible, and we are, then we have got to learn to argue and fight like biblical Christians.
I got to say, I've called a few Baptist friends, and some have called me, and some are really upset. There's other ones that are like, I get exactly what you guys are trying to say because I'm going through the same process, and I agree with you. It's like, but we're having a hard time coming out of that individualism so we can be able to see that this is a problem. And he said something, one of my Baptist friends said something to me, he's like, one of the things that Baptists forget is that we won. Like, most people in American culture are Baptists. Right. It's not like
even the Presbyterians are Baptists. Like, I mean, come on. Like, it's so true.
Which is
even the Presbyterians are Baptists.
Yeah, which is part of their problem. So anyway, but
but here, that's the thing. So, like, I mean, where is it? I'm blanking. Titus. Paul says all Cretans are lazy cowards or lazy sluggards or something like that.
Yeah. Lazy don't work. Yeah.
Lazy liars. Gluttons.
Thank you.
There we go. Sorry.
Producers.
My Bible. I should look it up.
For.
I should look it up right there. And again, it's like, was every last? I mean, could Cretans have been offended by Paul? Yes.
I wasn't a Cretan.
but he's doing a generalization, and he's saying, look, you got your work cut out for you there on the island of Crete, Titus.
Yeah.
They've got a reputation, and they got the reputation somehow.
Yeah.
Do Baptists have a reputation?
Yeah.
Do Presbyterians have a reputation? Yes, they do. And there's things that we are pious about Baptists. You've heard on the show over and over again how thankful we are for fundamentalist Baptists.
Right, because they saved us in a lot of ways.
They saved us.
Where Presbyterians dropped the ball.
As much as I disagree with drinking and playing cards and dancing and all that kind of stuff, man, they said, look, we're going to die here on the supremacy of Scripture, the virgin birth, the substitutionary atonement,
Pastor, I think there's a point too where I've noticed that my Baptist brothers think that and this is why I brought up the context in which we live in with Baptists and Presbyterians in fellowship, in communion with the CREC, because I think that they're hearing us say, "Oh, it's us versus them," and it's like, no, it's just us. Right. It's all of us.
You're on our team.
When we talk about y'all, we talking about us too.
Right.
Like it's not the separation.
The problem though, Knox, is that you're thinking covenantally.
That's my point, and that hurt.
Ouch.
That's a good point.
But we consider them part of the family.
Absolutely, in every way.
And so that means that sometimes we might we might want to correct you like a brother. We might want to admonish you like a brother.
Yeah.
But we got an issue here. We got to deal with this problem together.
Yeah.
What's some more? Next one up there. Hey, Cross Politic, as a Credo Baptist fan of your program, this seems quite uncharitable. No, it's love. I know Paedo Baptists are historically our older brothers in the Reformed faith, and like big brothers, sometimes you talk down to us, but remember that we are still your little brothers. Hey, man, that's what the show's about. You're our brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're not talking down to you any more than we would talk. Like, again, Presbyterians also have caused a whole bunch of nonsense and insanity of this land.
I just want to say, too, like, Paul, thank you. I also want to say, though, that's why my point about the CREC and the coming together. Yeah. Our position
in the CREC, it's not older, younger brother.
Thank you. That's my point. It is not an older, younger brother. Right. It's just
just brother.
We're twinning.
You're just
right?
brother.
It's just brother. And there isn't a talking down. No. And we hit each other, even in conversations here, we hit each other on things that we have to fight and dig out. Yeah. And it's like, and I'm not going to lie to you, as coming from somebody who's inside of evangelicalism and the Enlightenment and agnostic, when I'm fighting with y'all sometimes that we don't always reveal on the show, I have to say that I'm like, man, this is what it means to be an adult.
Right. And a brother.
Brothers
wrestle.
Yeah.
Brothers wrestle.
Okay, another tweet.
He actually said, Baptists caused the transgender crisis. Cross-Politic, no need for you guys anymore. There are other podcasts that aren't as careless with words. No mistake that the host of the Cross-Politic show encouraged it. Make a secondary issue the main issue.
Okay. No, first of all, I keep going back to this.
Yeah.
We haven't made a secondary issue the main issue at all.
No, you're our brothers.
You're our brothers. No. And we are not bringing this to the table. We will break bread, be a membership and fellowship with you in communion at church and not have any problems with it whatsoever.
That would be making it a main issue.
That would be making it a main issue.
We couldn't eat communion with you. You couldn't be a member in our church. Nobody said that.
And I want to say this right here too. There are other podcasts that aren't as careless with words. Man, he is so right about that.
He's actually right.
I mean, like this dude, hey, Thomas, I want to say, brother, you are right. Like, here's how I refer to myself. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, poor me. I'm just telling you the truth. I feel like Moses all the time.
Yeah.
God, go get somebody else who doesn't stutter.
Right. If you're looking for a very, very careful podcast, find a new one.
Yeah.
I'm totally serious.
Yeah, I know.
We call ourselves rowdy Presbyterians on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? We're rowdy. Okay? I've described our show before as like Johnny Cash meets ESPN in a crowded bar.
Yeah,
okay, that's the mojo we're going for. That's the ethos we're going for.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how you are with ESPN and Johnny Cash in a crowded bar. A bunch of guys probably don't go to bars. But anyways, when you're in there, you're not thinking to yourself, now be very careful about the next sentence I'm about to say. Sorry, that's not what we're up to. Now, we love you. You're part of the family. We want to be clear about that.
And anytime that y'all want to, if y'all come to Moscow or we're anywhere else, man, hit us up. I want to talk to y'all. I want to sit down, have a beer with y'all. We're going to be in a bar again and y'all can say whatever y'all want to say. Right. Hey, I just want you, I'm looking at the comments and stuff's like, oh, I love these guys, man. I'm so grateful for this conversation.
Right.
And it is a conversation. And I'm totally fine with having this conversation, but I don't want to act like whatsoever that theology doesn't have an outworking inside of culture,
or that the church doesn't drive it.
That's right.
The church drives culture.
If judgment starts with the house of God,
right? We're the salt of the earth. We're the light of the world.
Yes.
Okay, so you can't say that and then be upset when somebody says, "I think maybe this part of our church culture is causing that."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at the charismatics. We can look all around and be like, and yet those are still
our
people
brothers
that I'm going to break bread with every Sunday and constantly engage with, and I'm not going to leave them. Right. I'm going to stay there. And here's another thing. If you think that like we are absolutely wrong, the last thing you want to do to a brother is be like, I am so done with you.
Right.
Like, it's like, bro, come here. Let me break it down with you.
But we're not done with you.
Yeah, we're not. I love you to death. And I hope that you come and say, hey, let's have this conversation. Let's engage this. I saw somebody say on Twitter, like, hey, man, I'm done with Listen Across Politics. I was like, bro, well, if you want to talk to us, like tagged you on Twitter. Yeah. We're more than willing to have the conversation. Yeah. If you think we're aberrant and tripping, then let's talk.
Right. Next slide.
Okay.
I'm trying to be very generous here to those I believe are brothers. Oh, thank you.
Well, we believe you.
But I believe he brazenly generalized a rather large group of credos the same way non-presbys lump all mainliners as pedo. Hey, we don't care. That's cool. We're actually good with those kind of generalizations.
I do it all the time.
Jesus does it too. I don't think he was attacking particular Baptists, still dumb and needs an apology. No, it doesn't need an apology.
Not apologize.
Because it's generally true. Not so long ago, the American dream was alive and well. Employees who worked hard were rewarded, and employers looked for people who could do the job, not for people who had the right political views. Redballoon.work is a job site designed to get us back to what made American businesses successful: free speech, hard work, and having fun. If you're a free speech employer who wants to hire employees who focus on their work and not identity politics, then post a job on Red Balloon. If you're an employee who's being censored at work or is being forced to comply with the current zeitgeist, post your resume on Red Balloon and look for a new job. Redballoon.work, the job site where free speech is still alive. Redballoon.work.
Man, okay, the people that support us.
Here we go. Here's the wrap up. I'm going to read it as fast as I can. On Monday, Jesus' God was trending, so we jumped on that bandwagon and talked about how God is central to every cultural and political conversation. Thanks. We also talked to Pastor Phil Kaiser about how God's law applies to all of life and how to help our fellow Christians stop being embarrassed of that. Knox and I also went straight out and purchased the Founders Constitution, all 5 volumes, but I would like to point out that Knox got his a whole day before I got mine. On Tuesday, we talked to attorney Mariah Gondero about the initial court victory for a San Jose church fined for contempt of court for opening during the lockdowns. Turns out the court order to shut down churches was unconstitutional, so it's not contempt of court to ignore unconstitutional orders. Everybody should write that down. We also talked to Blaine Kanzati, who explained how Idaho's heartbeat laws civil enforcement mechanism was allowed to go into effect last Friday, and the criminal enforcement mechanism is actually going into effect today, like literally today. While we still have our work cut out for us in ending all abortion in Idaho and seeing equal protection for all unborn persons, we are grateful for this massive step toward that victory. On Wednesday, I was out of the studio. Way out of the studio. Not anywhere close to the studio, and Jared Longshore and Jason Farley took Knox and Gabe hostage, and they talked about crazy things. They talked about slavery and abortion and transgenderism, and did I mention that I was not here? Also, I wasn't even here. Thursday, Gabe was out of the studio suffering from the things that were said on Wednesday's show, I suppose, and campus preacher Keith did his best Gabe impressions while we watched Sam Harris deconstruct his own worldview in front of the world. Harris said that it was morally justifiable for the left to systematically conspire to prevent Trump from getting a second term because Trump is an asteroid. Except not really, but sort of. And just look at him. Can't you see it? Okay, I just want to close out with a quick recap of what we at Cross Politics think about Baptists. Are you ready? We believe that Baptists are brothers in the Lord. You are more than welcome to become full members of our churches, and we are happy to have you take communion with us. Yeah. And when you decide to have your kids baptized, we will baptize them by sprinkling, pouring, or immersion, or any way in between. Yeah. In fact, I personally baptized 4 kids by immersion this last Sunday during our worship service. And at the same time, we are Presbyterians, rowdy Presbyterians, as we have tried to warn you on multiple occasions. And that means we think that the most consistent reading of Scripture teaches that our children are included in the covenant of grace in the new covenant, just like they were in the old covenant. God promised Abraham that he would be his God and the God of his children after him, and instructed Abraham to give his sons the sign of that covenant with circumcision. The new covenant sign is baptism, and this new covenant promise of forgiveness is for us and our children and as many as the Lord our God will call. So just as God included the children of believers in the Old Testament and marked the sons with the sign of the covenant, we believe that the children of Christians should be marked with baptism in infancy and included in the covenant family. But just to be clear, we do not believe this means that they are automatically saved. They must still believe and be born again. But we do believe that the sign indicates that God is inclined to save them. Amen. We also believe that American evangelicalism is shot through with idols and perversions in both Presbyterian churches and Baptist churches. Most Presbyterian churches have rainbow flags out front, and many Baptist churches have gone completely woke. The worship of self-actuation, self-determination has made deep inroads into both traditions. Presbyterians are not much better than drag queen groomers. Ooh. We take it. And by the same token, mainstream Baptist culture and that kind of Arminian masturbatory revivalist culture really is a gateway drug to the same ideologies that murder babies and carve up their bodies. Look, if you're not up for getting your denomination punched in the face, go find another news show. But I thought you all loved Paul Washer. We're talking about you. Oh, now, we have all kinds of room for covenantal Baptists. We do differ on the timing of baptism, and you should be aware of the dangers that can run downstream from that. And we do not mind saying that we need to be aware of the dangers of nominalism and sacramentalism and sacerdotalism that sometimes runs downstream of baptizing babies. But the bottom line is that you are welcome in our churches, welcome at our tables, welcome to be baptized when you would like to in our churches. But we are rowdy, and we will occasionally throw a pitch high and inside. But remember, we consider you our full-blood brothers, and we aren't going anywhere. Look at that.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until Monday, love God.
I'm trying to tell you all the time.
Your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics.
Wait, what?
You guys believe that stuff?
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations, the world's largest classical Christian homeschooling community. I'm launching a new podcast, Refining Rhetoric. If you like cross politics or just listen to hear what crazy stuff they're saying today, you will enjoy Refining Rhetoric. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. I practice the 15 tools of learning by interviewing great guests, looking at current events, and talking about cryptocurrency.
Home. It's where you build your legacy, where traditions are started, seeds are planted, meals are shared, and stories are told.
We are Chris and Natalie Carpenter, owners of Story Real Estate, and our team of top agents helps people find homes in Moscow, Idaho, and around the country.
Have you thought about a move? Contact us to get connected with a top agent who shares your values and puts your family first. Or reach out to us about our Moscow relocation guide.
Wherever you're looking to go, we can help you find home. Call us at Story Real Estate or visit us at storyrealestate.com and start building your legacy.